Yes, we
Humans,
do.
we get so frustrated, like, oh, why did this happen to me? And then I go, oh, no, I'm not a victim here. This happened for me. That means that the universe has my back, 1. 2, the universe also knows what's best for me and can see what's around the corner that may not be for me, and they're letting things fall away so that I don't get mixed up in them. And then as things are happening for me, the rest reveals itself, and the information can be made available. It may not be today, and oh boy, aren't we impatient. It may be 3 months down the road. It may be because free will is at play and the person who's involved in it still hasn't made up their mind what they want to do. Well, guess what? If they don't make up their mind, the universe will find somebody else to step in and be there instead.
Hey, Champion Nation. My name is Kashaun Cooper, and I am the host of the Champion Nation podcast. Before we jump into today's episode, can you please do me a favor? It would mean so much to me if you can scroll down and subscribe so you don't miss any of our episodes. Also, if you can hit that little like button, comment below. Your comments mean so much to me and our other viewers and listeners. Now let's jump into today's episode. Champion Nation, my name is Kashaun Cooper, and I am the host of the Champion Nation podcast. Today, I am excited to hear from none other than Eva Venari. She is a speaker. She is a practitioner. Although I wanted to call her a coach, I don't know the difference between the two, and she's going to help clarify that. And then also, she's an author, and I cannot wait to dive into the book that she has written. Champion Nation, once again, I am excited. I know you hear it week after week, and I'm going to keep saying it. Why not? Why do these shows if I'm not excited? So this week, I'm excited to have none other than Eva joining us today. Hey, Eva, welcome to the Champion Nation podcast.
So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Of course. Hey, Eva, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do?
Yeah, if I do anything other than what I do, first of all, I fail miserably. So I am, by that definition, doing my purpose, and I have received that spiritual tap on the shoulder. What I do is who I am. It's a reflection of me. That's important. And what I do can be summed up in Carl Jung's famous quote. He says, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, we will continue to live by it and call it fate."
Yes. I love that quote, actually.
Yeah.
I love that quote. Well, thank you for sharing that little snippet. But I know there's more to you than what you just shared. And I know that what I did leave out is that you are a CEO of the Elevate Institute. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it's a company
Very
that
good.
came in. Yeah, I those little spaces in time between when you haven't quite opened your eyes yet from sleep, and you haven't really remembered all the mistakes you made yesterday, and you're not remembering your to-do list today. It's like that really relaxed place where there's no resistance. I brought in my business and what I offer through that space. Some would call that channeling. So this has been brought in, and I came into what's called alignment with the stream of consciousness in order to do this work.
Wow. People email me all the time. Hey, Kashaun, we want to know the why. We always want to know why someone has done what they are doing now. And, that's what I want to ask you, Eva. What was the pivotal moment? The pivotal moment that led you to seek alternatives beyond, traditional medicine?
Yeah, and we haven't clarified that. So I am a practitioner. I've been certified in what's called mineral balancing. It's based in hair analysis. So that is the tool. If I was a mechanic, I'd say my tools are all of my tools in the garage, right? So that's my tool to figure out clarity. And so for me, I had spent a great deal of time overcoming my imbalances, chronic conditions. My longevity was like so far into the horizon as unachievable. I was told I was going to die unless I took medications. And I just had this, I'm Italian. We discovered this before we hit record. I'm Italian. And I used that stubborn tool to say, you know what? I don't want to take drugs. I don't believe there's no cure for things like chronic fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, depression, fibromyalgia, itchy skin, heart palpitations, and guess what? They all go together. All of these things that we consider common as we age, they're not normal. They're just common. And I wanted a better future for myself. And really, I just wanted to save money on the process, so I became a practitioner. That's the honest truth. But the turning point, that catalyst, that moment where I was squished into a new space of reality and I got that spiritual tap on the shoulder, was when I received a phone call from the hospital telling me that my ex-husband just passed away. So 2 weeks before that happened, I had just found out, I had just gotten my certification and I was ready to help myself. And we're on the phone. He and I are on the phone and he's talking to me about all these chronic conditions he has going on. And I recognized that I could help him. And so I offered, well, what happens between an ex-husband and an ex-wife? That, they typically don't take each other up on help like that. And so he laughed at me and he goes, no. Yeah, it doesn't happen.
No.
I'm fine. My doctors have me. I'm on medication. And this man was 45 years old. And I found out after he passed that he was on 17 medications. And what did he die of? Yeah, he was in the hospital for kidney stone removal. And they gave him something intravenously that just put his heart over the edge and couldn't handle it. So he had a massive heart attack that could not be recovered. Jeez. And when I got that phone call, it really was. It wasn't. There's a certain shock, sure, but he hadn't taken care of himself in a natural way in a long time, so it was almost not a shock, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, and it sunk in, and I hung up the phone, and it just dawned on me, like when something sinks in really easily, and I thought, I need to open up my doors for practice because people need to know they have an option. And so That's what I did. This happened back in 2011, July, and I opened my doors for business in September of 2011.
If you don't mind, first and foremost, thank you so much for sharing that aspect of your life. But if you don't mind, can we delve into the aspect of how did your husband get there? Was it burnout? Was it just neglect? What was it? I mean, 45 is very young.
Young. Yeah, very young. So we had divorced 12 years prior, and I wasn't privy to what he was doing to himself in the meantime, but I can tell you what I noticed, what I perceived, what I was able to observe, because we shared 2 children, and we were seeing each other every couple of months or whatever to exchange the children for visitation. And he just kept getting bigger round than he was tall. He kept having just a difference in how his energy was and the difference in the way he showed up. And he was taking medications also for mental conditions. He was bipolar. But he had this interesting idea that if I just follow the fads and trends and I take the medication the doctors tell me to, I'll be fine. Not a proponent of the Ron Popeil set it and forget it diet. You have to be a little bit more proactive. You have to pay attention to your body. You have to learn how to listen to it, how to speak to it. There's a communication that goes on, and the holistic process requires. A lot of people don't know how to do that, so they feel like they have no other choice. And I make that simple. I make that really easy to do. Is learning how to listen to your body and what to give it, so that you're not playing a guessing game like he did. It makes all the difference in the world. Your chronic conditions and your ability to have longevity are the same solution. And that's now what I offer. It's this for me, I've heard others describe it that way too, as a spiritual tap, like, oh my God, my purpose is before me. And it's almost a recognition. Have you ever had a cognition or moment where you're like, oh, I just knew that. I just knew it, from the gut. And that's what it felt like for me. It was a recognition. It was like, yep, this makes more than just logical sense. This is aligning with me as a whole person. It makes a lot of sense. Spiritually, I have options to, but you know what? In that moment, I was still raising the kids and now raising them on my own. I was still working a full-time job that had nothing to do with health. And the idea of taking on another was a little bit heavy, but I did it anyways. And I think that's the thing. You get pushed, you get compelled to take action because you know that what you're about to do is bigger than you and you're going to be provided for.
So basically, you're saying, just to make sure I'm clear, you're saying there was a knowingness.
Yeah, that's a good description. Knowingness. Yeah.
Hmm, interesting. There wasn't any doubt when that
No.
came across. Was it like, oh, really? Me? How could I do this? No, because that's what
Yeah.
that's what some people say.
Yeah.
When you get that inspired thought, when so, and I know I'm stuttering because it sounds like it just happened for you, but a lot of us, when that thought hits us, it's almost like, oh, no, I can't do that.
Well,
No.
I think there was another side to the sandwich. So if that was the last piece, right? The sandwich piece came on top. The bottom piece of it would be I had been spending time working on my spiritual development and my personal gifts development. And so the spiritual gift development side, I heard one of the spiritual teachers talking about how great it would be if the world had a solution to chronic illness. And I remember listening to that thinking, gee, I wouldn't mind being that person. So I metaphysically raised my hand and said, this is what I want to do at some point. And whether I remembered it or not in that moment, and I don't think that I did in that moment, it just became the bottom slice of bread for the sandwich that then became the knowing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's all. For me, when you get that inspired thought, you're at least my knee jerk reaction is, whoa, what is that? Should I test the water? But I know from Joe Vitale, I'm sure you probably know him. He's written a book, Money, Love, Speed. When you get those type of thoughts, you act on it.
You go. That's right. Yeah, you don't question you don't question spirit. Not like that. You can be discerning, and that's a whole different journey. Yes.
What's the difference between questioning and discerning?
Well, questioning is questioning for questioning's sake without having a grounding understanding of what you're questioning. It's like a child sitting in the back seat going, why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? Why is it, just questioning for questioning's sake. Whereas when you have a purpose to your questioning where you're not trying to disrespect anybody, not to say that the child is trying to disrespect, it's just absent-mindedness. They're just gathering information for the sake of gathering information. But this was more on a purposeful journey of testing the waters and figuring out what is the path forward. How does this come in? How will people receive it? There's still a lot of people who believe only in the person who's got the doctor's degree. You can't help me, Eva. You're not a doctor. Well, when the doctors keep telling me things like, we don't know what's wrong with you, we can't help you, where am I supposed to turn? And where are you supposed to turn?
Right.
So there has to be a solution somewhere. And that's what I kept believing. So it was if you believe that you give your body what it needs to heal, it can heal itself. The next question is, well, how do you know what your body needs? And if medicine keeps telling you, I don't know, we don't know, then you have to not give up. What are you supposed to do? Wake up every morning and with your new degraded state of, well, it takes me 3 hours to wake up in the morning. I need 12 cups of coffee. And I guess this is my new normal. And my body aches all the time. And I have headaches every day at noon. And this is now me for forever. Wow. Why? That's no way to live.
No, it isn't. My father, my mother passed away 6 years ago. This year makes 7 years ago. She was diabetic, which led to kidney failure, led to amputation, and hence her life was cut short because of those illnesses. But my father, he is a proponent of holistic medicine. I mean, that man, he told me one day, he said, Kashaun, I had colon cancer and I don't have it anymore. I said, really? I said, how do you know? He said, I'm telling you, I know that this is what I did. This was the whole holistic approach. And I said, Dad, I'm so proud of you. When it comes down to, you have a concept that says necessity is the mother of invention. And that deeply resonates with your story. Can you elaborate on how this principle guided you toward holistic health?
Well, I think when we're struggling between the real point here is what will life and death. This is quite literally what's going to kill me, what's going to keep me alive. The superfluous, the excess, the distractions don't matter. And what is really necessary becomes your focal point. And I think that is the true nature of it. I'm not the one who came up with that. That's an old quote. Necessity is the mother of invention. And so I think that unless we have needs that we're willing to find the answer for and not just let it go unmet. And that's a worthiness issue, isn't it? If we believe that our needs are worthy of being met, then we're going to go after this thing that fulfills it. And I think that's part of there's the fun inventions like the airplane and the phone, but they became necessity, didn't they? How do we?
They are now.
I know they are now. So you never know where the invention is gonna lead and where it's going to inspire others to improve upon and build from. I mean, I stand on the shoulders of giants when it comes to the work that I do, and anytime I can make it better, I do.
I definitely appreciate that, and you touched on worthiness of having our needs met. I guess that goes deep into is this my fate? Am I here to just turn over and just let whatever happen to me because I don't deserve to have an answer? But I was taught that through books, through my mentors. I was taught that every problem has a solution and every question has an answer. What do you think about that?
That's universal law. I teach that, and I use that as the basis of my foundational work in the Essential Love programs, which is part of my whole service and series of services. So, yeah, law of correspondence and the law of attraction both come into play there. And this is what I use whenever I come across a problem where I don't see the solution right away. We get frustrated.
Yes, we do.
We get so frustrated, like, why did this happen to me? And then I go, no, I'm not a victim here. This happened for me. That means that the universe has my back, 1. 2, the universe also knows what's best for me and can see what's around the corner that may not be for me. And they're letting things fall away so that I don't get mixed up in them. And then as things are happening for me, the rest reveals itself. And the information can be made available. It may not be today, and oh boy, aren't we impatient. It may be 3 months down the road. It may be because free will is at play and the person who's involved in it still hasn't made up their mind what they want to do. Well, guess what? If they don't make up their mind, the universe will find somebody else to step in and be there instead. So the solution is there.
Yes. No, you're right. I'm enjoying this conversation because this is something that I have or that I am growing into because I like how you court yourself. You said, "Oh gosh, why did this happen to me?" No. Why is this happening for me? I have a dear friend. His name is Franklin Hernandez. When things happen to him, he always asks himself this question: what is the relevance? What is the relevance of this? That great question that he asks himself. And you may have heard this as well. There are no accidents in a perfect universe.
There aren't.
Not even close. Not even close. But some of our listeners and viewers may be unfamiliar with the idea of holistic health.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate more, explain what holistic health means, especially at the Elevate Institute, and how does it differ from conventional medical approaches?
I'm going to answer that one first.
Okay.
The conventional approach is, I've got something wrong. Let's say headache. You go to the doctor and the doctor says, "Oh yeah, you got a headache. Here's an Advil. Take that." That's called the hunt and kill method of healthcare. Right? You're hunting down a symptom and then killing it. Okay. What if there's something behind the headache that's allowing the headache to occur? That's actually a deeper and more serious issue than just simply that Advil can handle. Okay. So I like to say, if you use doctors, if something is on fire, has been severed, is drowning, use doctors for their purpose. They know how to do the trauma care. If something's broken or on fire, go to them. If something is chronic, and it's like, I don't get to use the word chronic in a technical term as a doctor, but I'm just going to say something that's been with you for a while. People say, what's a while, Eva? I don't know. Give it a couple weeks. Give it a couple months. If it's still with you and it's not gone away yet, probably chronic. So that headache that comes up every day, that the doctors have told you, well, that's not a migraine. That's what they did to me. They're like, oh, migraines don't happen every day. Click. They hung up on the phone. They hung me up. They were done. As soon as they didn't define it as a migraine, they said, oh, well, wait, we can't help you. Click. So, okay, what is it? I still have the headache every day. All right. So holistic medication is something that affects the entire body as a whole. And I mentioned earlier, if you give the body what it needs, it can heal itself. How do you know what it needs? That's the next follow-up question. So holistic medicine is pinpointing that. What does the body need? And I call it the apple a day solution. You want to hear it?
I do. This is interesting. Of course I want to hear it.
Yeah. So it's been a long term, forever. Take apple a day, keep the doctor away. Well, somebody please define the apple, because just an apple a day, especially today's apple, is no es bueno. You're not going to get anywhere with an apple a day. So
right.
It's habits. The first one is to hydrate. You want to make sure you're drinking your water. So it's the how much, the when, and what kind that matter. So water. Rest is different than sleep. You want to rest in between your appointments and make sure that you're slowing momentum down enough throughout the day. A 5-minute rest, a 10-minute rest, something in between your appointments so that you're not constantly running. So that by the time you get to sleep, you can get a good night's sleep. And we're talking 8 hours a night. And people are like, oh, Eva, I can't sleep 8 hours. Then something's off. We're meant to just shut down and sleep so we can rejuvenate. 4 is to eat whole foods. Stop eating the fad diets and the fad shakes and the meal replacements and the protein bars and the food. Whole food. Chew it up. Eat it. And then supplement your food, because we can no longer just eat the food that is available to us. It's not nutrient efficient. So we have to supplement. It's with what, how much, and what kind. And I take the guesswork out of all of that. But when you do that, you put your body into a constant state of healing. That's holistic.
What was the one about food again?
Whole foods. Yeah. You want to eat foods that are closest to nature. However they come in nature. The least processed foods are the best. So
Examples?
In other words, closer to, if you're in a restaurant and you're ordering a meal, medium rare instead of medium or well done steak. If you're having vegetables, have them cooked, but not fried, not processed and mushed into things that don't look like their original form.
Hold on, medium rare for steaks? That is so visually unappealing for me.
But proteins in the most raw form is best for the body to assimilate it.
Why?
It just is.
Wow, that's interesting. Eva, you're Italian. How does that work?
Well, I wasn't there.
I'm just saying, don't you bring your culture? Is there like a cultural conflict?
No,
with
not
that,
at all.
with eating like that?
No, not at all.
Really?
Yeah, there are some places in Italy where the butcher will present, or the chef, if you will present a completely raw piece of beef, and it just tastes the best in that form. Yeah, you could.
I have a lot of growing to do. No way, Jose.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Well, we talked about self-love and self-sacrifice. Are self-love and self-sacrifice, is it the same coin, different sides?
Oh, same coin, different sides.
Or is it just altogether different?
No, I think we see self-sacrifice as a form of self-love, because many people, especially women, they think there's a gold star waiting for them in heaven if they live their lives without taking care of their own needs. They're going to be awarded somewhere, and you're not. You're never going to be rewarded for self-sacrifice. Actually, heaven and earth, as far as when it comes to spiritual messages that I received from my guides and working with them, they're like, if you don't love yourself, if you don't get your needs met, then that means you have a lack of self-worth, and your gifts will not be delivered.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot.
And it's hard to digest. I'm not a female. I'm not a woman. I'm not a mother, especially, and I'm not a wife. When you're a mother and you're a wife, that tends to be, like you said, a badge of honor. I put my family ahead of my needs. I put my husband ahead of me. I put my kids
Yeah.
ahead of me. What advice would you give to a mother
Yeah.
who typically, performs in that way?
I think it's necessary when the child is new. We have to give up any idea that we are, that the baby is independent. That is a clear and codependent relationship in the most necessary way to get a baby from a baby all the way to, let's say, early adolescence. But by the time the kid is into teen, every year you have a different development. Give up some of the responsibility of doing for your child so the child can learn responsibility and so that you can take back a portion of your own life for your own needs, because you have a contract with God. And if you decide to continue living in an imbalanced way where you're giving up all of your time, your free time, in enabling or what you're thinking is support for a child that should be doing their own laundry, should be doing their own cooking, should be learning how to live on their own, paying their own bills, launching successfully, you will need to take back that time and start putting it into, what did I decide to do? What did I promise God before I took my place in a body on this world? And it's not just raising kids. That's part of it. And you had to do that for a while. And it's not just being a wife. That's part of it. That's a designation. But if you were to go into a meditation where you get rid of, you just shed all of the stories about who you are. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a, grandchild, I'm a whatever, I'm a CEO even, or you get rid of all of those labels that life gives you. What's left? Start there. And you start there and you listen. Who am I? That's the larger part of you that's got the contract with God. And what comes in there, what comes into you there, the messages, the cognition, the visual, whatever comes to you, that's the pursuit.
I'm glad you mentioned the big L word. That's the big elephant in the room, labels. And I think labels coincide with self-identity.
Yes.
What advice do you give someone? It could be a mother, it could be a man. What advice do you give a human being where, sometimes when I go to places, the first question they ask me is, who are you with? Who do you work for? I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's not important.
No.
What do you do for a living? That's not important. But a lot of us, we identify with our labels. So what advice would you give someone to break free from those labels?
Spend more time discovering who you are. And if you don't know where to start, that's of course what I offer, is that ability to get into that space to learn who you are. But the ego person, so for me, the ego, Eva, is this individual that I've created with all of the labels. It's not meant to be killed. It's meant to be just made smaller part of my life. The larger part of me is the unseen greater self that has never been born, can never die. It's an eternal soul. I would like to get to know that Eva. So the where to start is a curiosity. If you don't have a need for it, like you don't really have an interest in it, then don't pursue it. But if you're listening to this show, I would imagine you'd be interested in expanding yourself. Who am I at the larger part of me? What magic can I bring in for manifestation so that my gifts can then be brought to the world? Because if you're not bringing your gifts to the world, you're denying the rest of us those gifts.
And is that a way of breaking the contract that we have with God?
Yeah, it is a big way. And one of the things that I'm finding as a result, individuals will pass and they get on the other side. And this is because of the work that I do. I'm privy to what happens on the other side of the veil quite frequently. And individuals who pass, their unfinished business still has to be finished, right? That's purgatory. And so they go, and I'm not Catholic, I'm fully recovered, thank you. But this is just about how the world is set up and how heaven and earth is set up. And this is what I see when I help heal people in this way of ancestral wounds. So the ancestors haven't completed their contract. Well, who are they going to complete it through? Their legacy, their children, or somebody else that they can connect to. And that's not okay. So they need to be able to finish their contract without causing a problem for the energy of the people who are living. We don't want anything in the way of our sovereignty. So that's part of self-love. Am I worthy? Do I need to sacrifice my life for my ancestors? No, you don't. We can find a way to get them the help they need. I do it all the time. Help them get the help that they need on the other side. Get the tools that they need. Move them on their way and let you be a sovereign being so that you can live your life. Because if you have compromise of any kind, whether that's through taking, I have to be careful with how I say this, but any kind of drug that your body didn't create through its own beautiful pharmacy can leave you vulnerable to possession, entities, demonics, you name it. So I'm also an exorcist. I get to do these things. It's fun for me. So...
Yeah, no, I understand because I have a friend. He's a death doula.
Yeah,
and he loves it when he sits on the side of the bed and he helps individuals transition from one realm to the next.
Yeah.
And he said he learns so much about himself with each death that he helps facilitate. I'm like, wow. Yeah. You know, that's a spiritual touch.
It is.
I haven't been tapped with that one.
Well, I'd be careful what you ask for, because once you have been touched by spirits and asked to take on a certain gift, whatever it is, your service is required. I mean, you can say no, but it's going to be a rougher road.
I would agree, because you're not being the fish in water that you were created to be. Essential love experience. That's something that aims at mastering self-love. And boy, oh boy, if we could master self-love, I can assure you, I'm not a betting man, but if I were to bet, majority of the issues that we face in society would just vanish in the snap of a finger.
Yeah, we worry too much about what other people think of us. We think that the other person's opinion of us somehow is our business, and it's not. Mm-mm. There's all kinds of boundaries that we have crossed. A big one is very simple. Is since the invention of texting, people have said, what? When you get home, text me. Okay, I have a problem with that. First of all, we're saying goodbye right here. 2, you have no idea if I'm going home or not, and it's none of your business. And if I get home or not, if something happens between here and there, how are you going to help me? So I don't let what has become normal be the ruler. I live outside of normal convention, and I let the wisdom of proper boundaries lead. Just like when you're leaving a meeting, think about this. We've been on Zoom since COVID started and before, and people have to leave because the meeting went long. Oh, I wish I could stay. Do you wish you could stay? Can you sit in your authentic self and ask that to be true? How about, I gotta leave. This is going over time. Out you go. You don't owe anybody an explanation other than just to be kind of polite about it and say, gotta leave. So we spend way too much time nurturing and having the arrogance to think that we have control over other people's emotional states. None of our business.
No, you hit it right on the head. One of the examples or evidence of having a high emotional IQ is to know that people can respond in the way that they want to respond. The end.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it.
Nothing else. yeah. I mean, like, why did they respond? Why did they respond that way? I mean, it's none of your business.
Yeah,
it really isn't. And right, they did. That's it. Move on. And if it bothers you, if their response bothers you, now it's time to ask the question, like Mr. Hernandez does. What is the relevance? Why is their response bothering me? And there could be a trigger. It could be a childhood trauma that happens,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Would you
And
agree?
whoever has the problem is the one to speak up if there is something to say anything about it. But if you put it against your own boundaries and your own values, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't about how they responded. This is about something that happened to me, and I need to fix that.
Right.
And so in not going through the process and seeing yourself as a victim is that's a block to getting to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So then you switch that around and go, I don't want to be a victim here. I want to be in my own power. I'm being empowered, right? So the empowerment then says, I'm an observer and I'm looking at this from an outsider's perspective, but looking in with knowing my life. Who am I to get in the way of their spiritual development by criticizing how they got that response? And who am I to not take responsibility for my own spiritual development and make sure that I follow this through and process it? The problem is nobody is teaching this without having to take higher education and coaches and nobody's teaching this in our schools. Nobody's teaching this from parent to child.
Eva, the reason for that is what you're asking for is really difficult.
I know.
And it is, and you know why? I'm going to use a word that my wife uses pretty frequently. It puts the onus on the individual.
Yeah.
It's easy to place blame on the government, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, this person, my mother, my father. I mean,
right.
Geez, Louise, we can blame every single one, and it's easy to do that.
It is.
Why didn't this work out? Oh, the car they sold me. This is a lemon. Instead of saying, I chose the car. I wanted that car. Nothing happens to me. It happens for me. What is the relevance of this situation? Whoa.
Yep.
You just took a quantum leap from a mental from being pediatric to now being an adult.
Yeah, because fear, you're right, you're pediatric because you're sitting in fear. Fear immobilizes our ability to be logical.
Eva, I'm enjoying this conversation. I do have a couple more questions left. You've battled over 30, if I'm correct, over 30 physical, emotional, and spiritual symptoms yourself. What are some of your daily practices or habits that you found to be most effective for you for maintaining your health and your energy levels?
The biggest one was to start believing my own internal dialogue about what I was feeling. Too many times we turn over our experiences to the white coat, the authoritarian who says, oh, everything looks normal on your paperwork, your blood test, everything came back within normal range. It must be all in your head, right? Mm. And if they can't find a reason on paper, they being the authoritarian, well, maybe they're right. And I discovered that listening to that is a mistake, because if you don't feel good inside your skin, there's something off. You need to listen to that and keep looking until you find the answer. So for me, it's that. I don't question myself like I used to. I don't just believe somebody because they have a degree. I use the information as information, and I go, that's interesting. Wow. Okay. I'll take that on board as an advisement, but you're not the person who's in control of my healthcare. I am. Right. So that was important. Yeah. But other than that, it's the apple a day that I've described. That's big. So you want to hydrate, rest, sleep, food, and the nutrients. So those things, and being specific about it, is important. We are in charge of what we put into our bodies, and therefore we can never be a victim.
Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your permission. And speaking of permission, we've been chatting for about, a little over 35 minutes. I would love to know. I know it doesn't feel like it, right?
No.
What does it mean, in your own opinion? What does it mean to you to be a champion?
I think there's a couple of things in that. I don't think there's a one-word answer that I can come up with. Anyways, for me, it's been important to know thyself. That's number one. Know thyself. Be authentic to knowing thyself. So if you know yourself, don't compromise that. Don't compromise yourself, and reach for help when you're stuck, because even the best of us get stuck.
That's a good one. I like that. Reach for help when you're stuck. I guess the thing is, You have to be aware and honest with yourself when you're stuck. That's the key. We can keep talking for 40 more minutes. But Eva, where could our viewers and listeners connect with you?
Best place to find me is on the web. My website is theelevateinstitute.com. If you arrive there, you will notice that there is an ability to have a 20-minute conversation with me for free, because everybody has questions, and for every question you ask and I answer, 2 more questions will pop up. So I want to listen, hear what's going on, make a recommendation, what I think is best for you to get over your hashtag block and move on to your next version of you.
I love it. Hey, Champion Nation, I told you this was going to be great. I told you. I don't lie about these great conversations. We could have talked for 40 minutes longer, easily. Champion Nation, if you have questions about your spiritual journey, about your health, if you want to take another path or alternative, if you have questions, you don't want to listen to the white coat, and you have you want a holistic approach, give Eva a call, a free 20-minute call. It will revolutionize your life and possibly turn your life upside down. Champion Nation, this has been an amazing conversation. I almost forgot. Do not forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Hit that little bell. Champion Nation, have a wonderful week. Hey, Eva, thank you so much. Take care.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.